Here we are.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Hi
We
there.
get to do it again. Hi.
They
What
keep letting
fun
us
we're
do it.
having.
We
Yeah,
certainly
sitting at
are.
home watching this music. I'm guessing there's a short lag between the two of us, so we're going to be bumping into each other.
Aha. Well, won't be the first time. Anyway, this little enterprise is called Dead Air with Lambert and Gans. I'm one of those guys, and he's the other one. So
I've been thinking we should call it thick air. Those who know will know what I'm saying.
I think you're right. I think you have an
Yeah.
audience. You got to laugh. Uh, anyway, so we are here to talk to you, to talk to a guest every night of this tour. We're going to be here at halftime. We've got a bunch of great guests lined up and more to come. We started with a bang with Bob Weir. We had Jesse Jarnow last night. We're going to have a wonderful guest coming up in a few minutes. And we are also here to tell you, well, let's run down the set list first. Why don't we do that? Okay.
I have it right in front of me, Gary. They opened with Cassidy and Birdsong, and I was thinking, this is great, man. They're just everything's gonna be a jam song. This is my kind of run here. And then they did a bunch of short songs in a row.
Right.
That showed me. Dire Wolf, When I Paint My Masterpiece, Tennessee Jed, and then stretched it out again with Here Comes Sunshine and wrapped it up with U.S. Blues. All of it just impeccably played.
Yes. And note they pulled out a Dylan song to return the compliment to Bob Dylan, who played a Dead cover on his visit to the Bay Area a few nights ago. So how thoughtful of both of them. Anyway,
That's right.
I just wanted to make note of on U.S. Blues. That was one of those beautiful guitars hand painted by AJ Masthay that Bobby was playing that are being offered as part of the charitable effort by Headcount and all the people in Participation Row. They are raffling off some of these amazing one of a kind guitars, and they are auctioning off sort of a grand prize one, signed by band members and with that beautiful uh, artistry by AJ Masthay, who has done posters for Den Company for several of their tours, I know, and this one especially. So if you are interested in getting one of those guitars, you can visit Participation Row. You can check headcount.org for more information. And we, of course, always encourage you to do just that. Now, the reason we're here, other than entertainment and interviews and all that, is to let you know that this is all being brought to you through nugs.net. Now, you may be watching this on the free preview of the second set that's being very generously offered by Nugs and Dead and Company's social platforms and on YouTube and all over the place. You'll get the first song of the second set as a little tantalizer, and then you might decide this stuff is so good, I want to hear this whole show. And there's a way you can do that. It's by purchasing individual shows, or you can buy the whole tour and go back and listen to shows you've already missed at nugs.net. But nugs.net offers so much more than that, don't they, David?
If you're watching this live right now and you're thinking of buying the show, you can do that, and then go back and watch the first set if you missed any of it. It's hard to tell from here whether you're watching this live or if you're seeing it on the archive later. But in general, we are supporters of and believers in Nugs.net, which was founded by Brad Serling in pursuit of his own love of live music and trading it and making it available. And it's built up over these last couple of decades into an immense archive of wonderful live recordings from a tremendous variety of bands. Further and Bob Weir and Wolf Bros and Dead and Company are mainstays of it, but they've got Bruce Springsteen and Mo, I think, and Pearl Jam and tons of other music as well archived in there. And now they're offering streaming services, which offers you unlimited access to all that. And I don't have the details in front of me, but there's a partnership with SiriusXM that gets you access to the Nugs library as well. And of course, Nugs has a show on SiriusXM too, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I have benefited from Nugs for a long, long time. David has Dead and Company fans have been benefiting from it. Fans of all this music. It's a lot of stuff in the jam band genre, but a lot of stuff that is kind of uncategorizable. All sorts of music on nugs.net. And a friend of mine pointed out something that I don't think we've mentioned yet, but it's also a great resource for independent artists who are not signed to a record company,
That
who
is very true.
do not have the usual means of distribution or airplay at their disposal. And there are a lot of artists on nugs.net who fit that description, who fall between the cracks of what the music industry's algorithms think you should be listening to. Nugs
I'm
gives
one
you
of
a lot more
those.
variety. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Shall we bring our guest in?
I hope so.
uh, well, all we have to do is be more entertaining than that card that says, please stay tuned. And I think we're hitting that bar pretty well. But now we're going to raise the bar a good deal higher by bringing an actual guest.
Actually,
Yeah.
hold up. We may have a little technical issue with our guest. You may have to text her and ask her to do something, David. You
Oh,
see
I
a
thought I
text from,
already did.
yeah. No, she's
Say
on.
something, Garen.
She's attached. Yes. Well, I'll start introducing our guest. We met her on our radio show, or had her on our radio show, Tales from the Golden Road, a few weeks ago on SiriusXM every Sunday at 4 p.m. And she has made a wonderful documentary about the experience of being a Deadhead, about the sense of community one gets from being a Deadhead, and how music can really transform, one might even say save lives. And this film is a beautiful and moving document of her personal story and the story of the friendship she's made in the Deadhead world. And I think she's ready. I think we're ready to go, David. So
That's what
bring
I'm
her
seeing on my text. Yes. Let's bring
Good.
her in. Lonnie Frazier, welcome to Dead Air with Lambert and Gans.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So good to have you, Lonnie. It was really such a pleasure talking to you on the radio and seeing your film, which is called Box of Rain. And
Yeah.
it's very much about your personal Deadhead journey and also the stories of a lot of your friends and people you've met along the way, and just the Deadhead experience in general, and how life affirming, life enhancing it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. When I first started the project, I never intended to include my own story in the film. That came later.
Really?
Yeah.
It became such an important part of it.
It did. I started off thinking I would save a lot of the stories that I was hearing people tell. I wanted to find a way to preserve them. But whenever I told people the reason I was making the film, they became interested in my story. And we decided to include it. It was sort of a through line. It showed why I was interested in making this film.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So
You
tell
had
us.
Lots and lots. Go ahead, Garen.
Sorry, we're having a little bit of a delay, so it'll be fun. Anyway, tell us. Let's start out with your story, which has some really horrifying aspects to it, and then a great deal of redemption and amazing epiphanies in your life. Something that really shaped your life.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was lived in a really small town in Maryland. When I was a teenager, I was violently attacked by some boys that I went to school with, sexually assaulted, and it put me on a really bad road. I was really struggling, and someone that I happened to work with saw that I was struggling, and she offered me free tickets to see the Grateful Dead at Red Rocks. I was in Maryland, so I had a car, she had tickets, and I think she saw I needed to get out of the situation I was in. She offered me the tickets, and I drove her to Red Rocks with another lady who I never met until she got in the car and we took off.
Did you have any idea what you were getting into?
Not at all. not even a little bit. I didn't realize I'd ever heard any Grateful Dead songs until I went to a concert and I recognized some that my Aunt Bonnie had listened to when I was growing up. But completely different experience. And the funny thing is it started before we ever got to the show, because along the way we're running into people at rest stops and places along the way, campgrounds where we stayed, where we're meeting other travelers who are heading to Red Rocks.
So your experience of the music and the social experience were completely intertwined from the beginning, which I love. You know, I saw a few Grateful
Always.
Dead shows before I realized all this other stuff was going on, and the community wasn't as big when I started out. So I love it that you've just landed right in the middle of it at a time when you needed it most.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how lucky I was to see them at Red Rocks at the time. I just thought, I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to see this band I've never heard of before. I'm sleeping in my car a lot anyway, so why not do it in Colorado instead of Maryland? So,
Say more.
right. So, we got there, and I was just welcomed into the community in a way that I had never experienced. The Deadhead community, it took me a couple of days to figure out that it was a safe, comfortable place for me. I think the second night that we camped there, but it put me on a path that I didn't know existed. I think is the way I like to tell people. Being encouraged to try things even if you're going to fail, or to live a creative life even if there's no money. Those weren't things I was raised to think were viable options for a life path. And the people I met were like, you get one life. Let's do it right. Try new things, experiment, create something, and meet new people. Step outside of your comfort zone. Improvise.
Yes.
And it completely altered the direction that my life went.
Right.
Yeah.
Landing in a community that encourages exactly that sort of thing is so fortunate.
Yeah, I got very lucky, without a doubt.
How did you come to make a film about it, and how did you become a filmmaker?
Well, that's another blessing from the Deadhead community. I thought I was too old to start making films. I had my career was in research, and I had always wanted to be involved in filmmaking, but I thought because I didn't go to school for it, that wasn't going to be an option for me. And I was talking to someone, and they said, well, you don't know unless you try. And of course, this is a Deadhead friend. You don't know unless you try. Go try and volunteer someplace. Maybe find a TV station or something. So shout out to Penn TV and on the peninsula in the Bay Area. They gave me the opportunity to volunteer there, and it just snowballed from there. The film started out because someone in my Deadhead family had passed away. And I was at a meetup, and one of the people there said, I'm going to miss his stories. Nobody could tell his stories the way he did. And I thought, that's something I could help with. I could record these. I could film them. In the beginning, I thought I would make a YouTube channel with my friend Elizabeth, who's my DP and editor and just an amazingly talented human. So we thought we'd make a YouTube channel. And after the first few interviews, we realized we had something really special. There were a lot of common themes that kept coming up. And we thought, we can make this into a film. This is pretty phenomenal. And, we talked to the amazing Peter Connors. We have, a great version of Down to Eugene by David Gans in the film. Mr. Jim Lebrecht was interviewed for the film. So I put the word out, and the community just gave it all right back to me, and we're happy to step up and help, which is what they did when I was 17. They did it again in my 40s. So.
I do. I was really, really pleased when you asked for the use of my music, and just delighted when I saw what you wound up doing with it. I mean, I'm honored that it's the opening and closing title, but also hearing my music as background in some of those scenes is quite gratifying.
Awesome.
So I thank you for that. But the project sort of made you into a filmmaker. I like that.
It did. I learned along the way, and I have 2 other projects planned right now that I'm already starting on. So, like I said, again, the Deadhead community helped me step into a different life that I wasn't sure I would get to transition into something that amazing in my 40s. So, but man, if they didn't step up and make it happen for me, because I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the people who gave me the use of their photos and their footage. I mean, Brian O'Donnell, who did the first documentary about Deadheads, I contacted him. He invited me to his home in Colorado, and middle of the pandemic, I drove to his home up in the mountains in Colorado, and he gave me a copy of his film and said, use whatever footage you want to use.
That's really great. I enjoyed what he had to say in the movie too.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, there are so many stories among all of us of being a Deadhead not being anything close to a passive experience. It inspires you intellectually. It moves you to create yourself. You can just enjoy the music and go home and go back to your life, but the temptation to not do that has been so great for so many of us, and
Yeah.
it has informed what so many of us do for the rest of our lives, and that seems eminently true of you.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what I've really enjoyed after making this film is how many people have reached out to me. I've heard from a lot of people who recognize themselves or someone they know in the film from the footage or the images. And I've had some really moving emails from men and women who had similar experiences to mine, that they were in difficult or dangerous places and they found family and community in the Deadhead community and made a real difference in the way they've lived their lives.
I appreciate how you put that across because, as Gary was saying, we're Deadheads of a different vintage, and that thing came up over the years and made a culture of itself. And it's fascinating to see it and to read these documents. You mentioned Peter Connors, who's another one of your talking heads. He wrote a wonderful book about it called Growing Up Dead, and I have read other books. There's one called Confessions of a Deadhead by the Starburst Commander. And we've been talking to this guy, Howard Weiner, who's been putting out his sort of annotated notes of his listening to Grateful Dead music. We're getting so many different perspectives on this music and this culture now from people in the middle of it. It's just really, really a great thing to see, because we've all known that this thing was immortal and worth talking about. Here we are talking
Absolutely. About it. Yeah. And I was at Skull and Roses down in Ventura, and it was so cool to see all the young people and the young people on Shakedown Street selling their wares. It was just cool to see that it didn't go away. That vibe, that helpful vibe it's still there.
And the young bands who have not only cultivated this love for Grateful Dead music, but have absorbed a whole lot of other music. So you get bands like Grateful Shred, who are bringing a much younger perspective to the music. So the music doesn't just live as a nostalgia thing. It keeps building, it keeps mutating, it keeps springing new things off. It's amazing.
It is. And the culture, I think, is amazing too, that there's room for everyone to come in, and no matter what age you are, that you can find your space. You can find community there. It was great. It took me back. I remember when I was 17, I talk about it in the film, but I met a family who was living in a school bus, and they were selling food. That's how they stayed on tour. And they let me hang out with their kids and help with a few things around the dinner rush. And they would give me a plate of food.
Yeah.
And when I was walking through Ventura, seeing all the little ones there again, I just felt so happy for them that it gets to be a family thing for them as well.
We're getting up to the 4 generations of Deadheads now. It's kind of neat to see, because people don't age out of this; they stay with it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
well, it's family. You don't.
Yeah. There's that Grateful Dead lyric: "New ones coming as the old ones go," but the old ones don't go.
No,
it doesn't.
we just expand.
That's right.
There's room for everybody to come in.
It's one of the reasons I love the song Days Between, because it's about us as much as it is about them. When all we ever wanted was to learn and love and grow, that was us too.
Yep.
And we walked halfway around the world on promise of their glow.
Yeah.
It's we're all telling the story together in a way, and living it and documenting it at the same time is very.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
nice
Lonnie,
to see.
while we have time, we definitely want to give you an opportunity to tell people how, where they can see the film.
Oh yeah. So go to our website. It's boxofrainfilm.com, and there's a link for streaming, and we're selling DVDs. So we're expanding. We're currently talking to some other platforms to expand and be available there. But it's a bit of a process. So until then, we're doing it shakedown style. It is on our website. You can find us there.
Great.
That's great. I really, everybody, I recommend it so highly. It was so much fun, and I'm not just saying that because my music is in it. It's a really, really well told and warm story about a culture that we're here celebrating. This whole thing we're doing tonight is another day of that thing that's been going on for 50, 60 some years now, and shows no sign of drying up.
Isn't it cool though to have artists, musicians who allow their fans to create something complete? It's complementary to what the band is doing, but it exists on its own. I mean, when there are times when there are no shows, it doesn't mean I'm not seeing my Deadhead family. So it's kind of cool that we've been allowed to create something that can evolve and change.
Yeah, there was some moment early in my Deadhead life where I realized this band isn't treating me as a customer, but as a collaborator.
Yeah.
And giving my energy to the music was my part of it, and being part of this community was part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and thanks again for letting me log into Nugs tonight and listen. I as much as I love being at the shows and dancing with everybody, it was also nice to be in my backyard and dance with my dogs. So thank you for that.
That's
and,
great.
and I appreciate it because I'm a musician and I love watching musicians play music, being able to see the fingers on the keyboard and watching the singers singing. It's such an intimate way to experience the show. You can see them better here in the living room, and I got pretty good audio. I got them clipped speakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate the hell out of the Nugs mix. Oh, by the way, we should mention, since we're part of our business here is to promote Nugs, that every one of these concerts is being mixed for audio download. And so it's not just the soundboard tape as the show went down. I've forgotten the name. I'll get it for you and mention it in a future program. But each concert is being mixed after the fact by a genuine professional mixer guy. And so they don't show up on nugs.net for a day or two after, but they're much higher quality, fully mixed live concerts of every one of the shows on this tour, and going back several years of the soundboard recordings as well.
Right. Just consider it took all those years for the Grateful Dead to get a complete box set of Europe 72 out. You're getting a complete box set of this tour like within a couple of days of the show happening. So technology, what a concept. Anyway, Lonnie, we want to thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for giving this gift to our community with this film. Once again, it's called Box of Rain, and we could not recommend it more highly.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Lonnie. It's great
Thanks,
to have
guys.
you with us.
All right.
Thank you again. Much appreciated.
Okay.
You bet.
So I guess we're going to take it back to the stage. The band, we don't know what the status of the band is yet, but they might be milling about. They might be dawdling. But we're going to just throw it back to that please stay tuned sign, and we're sure you will. And we're going to be back in 3 days. The band has 2 nights off, and then we're going to be back with you from Boulder, Colorado at Folsom Field. We're looking forward to that. So we'll say goodnight for now. Thank you, Lonnie. Thanks to all of you for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.